Today we're digging into something really fascinating, the history of world maps.
Yeah, it's a great topic, how we've pictured our world over time.
Exactly. And our mission really is to see how that picture changed and maybe what those changes tell us about, well, us. We're drawing on some solid historical overviews here.
Sounds good. Where should we start? Way back.
Ancient beginnings. You mentioned Babylonian maps before, like 600 BCE.
Right, those are some of the earliest we know. And what's really interesting is they're centered on, you guess it, Babylon.
Makes sense. Your home is the center of your universe, almost literally on the map.
Pretty much. It shows that very human thing, defining the world from where you stand. That kind of bias, maybe, that's always been there in map making, even subtly.
Okay, so starting very local, very symbolic. But then the Greeks, they shifted things, didn't they?
They did, big time. People like Anaximander and especially Ptolemy later on, they started bringing in more systematic observation, math.
Ptolemy's Geographia. That was around the 2nd century CE.
Yep. And the huge leap was introducing a grid system, latitude and longitude.
That sounds simple, but I guess it was revolutionary.
Totally. It gave a framework to measure and plot locations consistently. Really, it's the foundation for like all scientific map making that came after.
Oh, from my city is the center circle to coordinates.
Yeah.
Quite a jump. But fast forward to medieval Europe, and maps look different again.
Very different. You get the T and O maps. Think of a circle, the O, with a T shape made of water inside, dividing Asia, Europe, and Africa.
And Jerusalem often right in the middle.
Often, yeah. It shows a worldview where spiritual geography was maybe more important than precise spatial accuracy, belief systems shaping the picture.
It's a good reminder, maps aren't just neutral drawings. But Europe wasn't the only place making maps then, right?
Oh, absolutely not. We really need to acknowledge the Islamic scholars. They preserved so much Greek and Roman knowledge built on it.
Any examples?
Al-Idrisi is a key one. Made incredibly detailed maps for King Roger of Sicily. This was back in the 12th century. Much more sophisticated than many European maps of that specific time.
Okay, so knowledge was being kept alive and advanced there.
Mm-hmm.
How did we then get to the maps we associate with, like Columbus, the Age of Exploration?
Well, those voyages, Columbus, Magellan, Vasco da Gama, and others, they just blew the doors off the known world, at least for Europeans.
Suddenly there's a lot more world to map.
Exactly. And the map started changing fast to include these new lands. Plus, you had new challenges like navigating huge oceans.
Which led to things like Mercator's projection.
Yeah.
1569.
Right. Mercator's great innovation was for sailors. It let them plot a course like a constant compass bearing as a straight line on the map. Super practical for crossing oceans.
But it's the one that stretches out Greenland and Antarctica, right?
That's the one. It sacrifices accurate area, especially near the poles, to get that navigational benefit. A classic map trade-off.
So practical leads driving map design. Then came the Enlightenment, empires.
Yeah.
How did maps fit in there?
They became tools of power and science. Nations mapped their colonies, their trade routes. It was about control, administration.
And getting more accurate, presumably.
Yeah, definitely. Better instruments, like the sextant, meant better measurements of the Earth, more precise locations, science and empire kind of feeding each other through maps.
Okay, bringing us closer to modern times. The 20th century must have been another huge leap.
Massive. Think aerial photography, then satellites, and now digital tech. GIS, Geographic Information Systems.
The GIS, right. That lets you layer all sorts of data onto a map.
Exactly. It's incredibly powerful. We can make maps showing almost anything now. Political boundaries, physical terrain, climate patterns, population, even internet access. The variety is huge.
It's quite a journey, isn't it? From those early sort of symbolic diagrams
to these incredibly detailed, data-rich digital maps we use every day on our phones.
And looking back at that whole sweep, it really seems like maps are always more than just geography.
That's the key takeaway, I think. The history of maps tells us about who held power, what different societies valued, their perspectives on the world. They're like a mirror.
A mirror reflecting not just land and sea, but also beliefs, ambitions, priorities.
Precisely. What gets put on the map, what gets left off, how things are centered or scaled at all, tells a story about who's drawing the map and why.
So we've gone from ancient symbols to digital data streams. It's a story of exploration, science, changing views, always evolving.
It really is. Which leaves us with a thought, maybe for you listening, what's next? How will new tech or shifting global concerns change how we see and map our world in the future?
What will tomorrow's maps say about us?